Hey you geeks! After my Dune review, I got some helpful feedback about Herbert's overall vision and how I apparently missed it. So I got researching. Yes, Herbert wrote the overall Dune series to denounce heroism and messiah figures, not idealize them as I had thought. But Paul is still supposed to be the archetypal hero in Dune, and his downfall comes later. If that's the case, Mr. Herbert...
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Is Paul actually a hero, a prophet, or something else? Could he be a maniac, or even a villain? In this video, I use maniac and insane as philosophical terms. Philosophically insane is a character trait completely distinct from mental illness. Most common, we think of insane people whose insanity comes from their mental illness, but this is not always the case.
And I must be crazy to keep flying. But if I ask to be grounded, that means I'm not crazy anymore and I have to keep flying.
This video is going to deal with the philosophical implications of insanity, not mental illness. I take a mental illness very seriously. But philosophy? Let's have some fun. Hero. What makes a true hero is a matter for many philosophical debates and Disney movies. Herbert describes a hero as superheroes are disastrous for humankind. Even if we find a real hero, whatever or whoever that may be, eventually fallible mortals take over the power structure that always comes into being around such a leader. Herbert points to the Camelot mythos that surrounded men like John F. Kennedy and General Patton.
Don't let it be forgot that for one brief, shining moment, there was a Camelot.
These men consciously assumed a bigger-than-life appearance, but were just men. Heroism for Herbert lies in a man's mythos, not his actions. Thus, Paul becomes a hero when he assumed the hero bravado. "You're thinking I'm the Kwisatz Haderach," he said. "Put that out of your mind. I'm something unexpected. You couldn't possibly know. You won't believe it until you see it." After the fall of House Attreides, Paul does some impressive things. He amasses power, influences a culture, and defeats the enemy. But are these things heroic? He does them for no apparent reason than power itself. The future, the gray cloud future, with its feeling that the entire universe rolled towards a boiling nexus, hung around him like a phantom world. I must see it, he thought. Prescient visions were fewer and fewer, dimmer and dimmer. Herbert has a very special word for those who seek power as its own end. People who want power for the sake of power. A significant proportion of such people are imbalanced. In a word, insane. Chesterton, of course, says it better. Men who believe in themselves more colossally than Napoleon or Caesar. I know where flames fixed the star of certainty and success. I can guide you to the thrones of the supermen. The men who really believe in themselves are all in lunatic asylums. Paul is Chesterton's maniac. He literally seeks the ability to fit all of time, space, and material reality into his head. And it is his head that splits. The ability to see all of existence is not necessarily the mark of a madman. Rather, those who take it for themselves are philosophically mad. Those to whom this knowledge is freely given, they are prophets. Prophet. Herbert, like the heretics that taught my original catechism, is a lapsed Catholic enamored with Zen mysticism. And it shows. Dune separates faith from religion. The religions of Dune tells of human achievements. It does not offer a history of the divine's interaction with humanity. Paul is called a prophet, but he never interacts with the divine, big D or otherwise. Paul faces only human nature. There is in each of us an ancient force that takes and an ancient force that gives. These things are so ancient within us Paul said, that they've ground into each separate cell of our bodies. We're shaped by such forces. I am at the fulcrum. This revelation is quite Buddhist-ish, but even the Buddha encountered something beyond himself, the Four Noble Truths. To grossly oversimplify, the truths are not of the Buddha's nature, but something to which the Buddha had to conform. They are an exterior divine truth. As a Catholic, I would argue that these are not the whole divine truth, but credit where credit is due. In Abrahamic religions, this divine truth is also a person, which is why Western prophets begin asking,
Who are you? I am that I am.
Paul meets no one and nothing during his revelation. His supermentat, human computer, with the prescient abilities found in guild navigators, powers squeeze the cosmos into his head and only allow him to see the present. He is a man, yet he sees through the water of life. Will you say what you have seen? Not the future, he said. I've seen the now.
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now.
Where once he could see far into the future, his powers have shrunk. His empathy has shrunk. All he has left is his terrible purpose. As Chesterton said, the madman has lost everything except his reason. His mind moves in a perfect but narrow circle. A small circle is quite as infinite as a large circle, but it is not so large. Paul is no prophet. Instead of drawing from an external font of infinite wisdom, Paul has only his broken soul and head to pull from. He encountered his own insanity and preached that. Those seekers after the Superman, who are always looking for him in the looking glass. Those writers who talk about impressing their personalities instead of creating life for the world. All these people have really only an inch between them and this awful emptiness. Could such a man be a hero?
It's not possible.
Not probable.
The villain. More often than not, we'd call him a tragic hero, a false prophet who drank his own Kool-Aid. Herbert is right that we should avoid such men. This is hardly revelatory. Oedipus has been warning us about flawed saviors since the beginning of recorded history, though Herbert seems to believe that only tragic heroes exist. We all know the maxim.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
However, I'm not sure Paul ever got to living as a hero. True, his people loved him.
He'll bring them death, and they will love him for it.
So that is not always the mark of a just ruler. The Fremen were already great warriors and adept at surviving their cruel oppressors. Paul taught them to fight cruelty with cruelty and take their revenge. The stories told of Muad'Dib, the Lisan al-Gaib, how he had taken the skin of a Harkonnen officer to make his drumheads, how he was surrounded by death commandos, Thedakin, who leapt into battle with their death chants on their lips. Him. Not exactly fighting for the common good, which tragic heroes at least aspire to in the beginning. Paul then allowed his zealots to conquer the universe.
The treachery, the villainy, the sheer indescribable horror.
Thus, to warn us about heroes, Herbert wrote a compelling yet maniacal villain. How odd. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.